Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapi Yat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. Salutations to Shukdev Maharaj and all the Guru Parampara of the Bhagavatam. Satchidananda Rupaya Vishnutpatyata Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Is it loud enough? The young ones shouldn't answer. Is it loud enough? No. Yeah. Young ones can hear even without the mic. Hari Om. Hari Om. So we saw that Prahlad had already learned the greatest of knowledge, and that sorrow is caused by I-ness and minus. And so the greatest thing we can do is surrender it to Bhagavan. And then we see also in all the stories of yesterday with the churning of the Milky Ocean, this I-ness and minus creates this constant conflict between asuric tendencies and devic tendencies even within us. Right? So the sense of me and then all our wanting comes from the sense of me. Anything we want. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All of it we want, and it will be linked in to the sense of me. And then this wanting, on its own, maybe not so necessarily that terrible, but it very quickly becomes greed. Like they were going to get the Amrit, and they were going to share the Amrit, but so quickly, we'll steal it for ourselves. Yeah. So quickly, desire turns to greed. And then, of course, when the Asuras snatched it away, so quickly, desire turns to anger. And then we see that this huge fight And it just keeps going on. Like it's how many times already the Devatas were fighting with the Asuras. The Asuras won. Then the Devatas had to get the kingdom back. The Devatas won. The Asuras tried to get the kingdom from the Devatas. And it just, even within our own mind, that fight for attention, or rather how we use our power. Are we using our power for dharma? Are we using our power for artha? Are we using our power for developing more bhakti? And it's all linked into the sense of me and minus. Even with King Chitrakoot. My son, right? He wants a son, and then it's my son, and then lost the son. And loss is always painful. But the reason loss is painful is because of mine. Because death is happening every single day. But it doesn't affect us every single day. It will only affect us when it's mine. All sorrow comes from I-ness and minus. And little bit more here. Sometimes it's not even of the loss of someone. Right? Sometimes it's just the loss of, because of that someone, I am this. Like with a child, I am a mother only because there's a child. And so take away the child, and now I'm no longer a mother. And so it's loss of this feeling of who I think myself to be, which is I-ness. I am this. And then take away something that I think I am. It's very painful, very confusing, very disorientating. And then there's this void, not only of a person, but of this feeling of I-ness not being complete. And then we keep trying to find ways to fill the void, when actually Bhagavan has already said, if we think of Bhagavan, there can be no sorrow. Because the whole mind will be full. Because Bhagavan is infinite, is fullness, is love, is joy. And so the more we understand where the sorrow is coming from, slowly we can start plucking away this, like weeds, those thoughts in our head that we know is so strong I-ness, pluck, so strong minus, pluck. And when there's that void of having plucked something, immediately fill with bhakti. Because if we don't fill with bhakti, asuras are fighting with devatas, and then devatas will fight with asuras, and asuras will fight with devatas, and devatas, as we have been seeing. So the asuras pluck away the devatas, and how long does it last? Again there's a battle. Devatas pluck away the asuras, and how long does it last? Again there will be a battle. But fill it with bhakti, and bhakti stays. And yesterday there's a story of Gajendra Moksha, which is also in the 8th canto, which I didn't get to cover. Gajendra was a great devotee, but troubled a rishi. Laughed at him because he thought the rishi was ugly. Now, humans are so interesting, no? Like, we already know that's a horrible thing to do. Then sometimes we can't help ourselves, but sometimes we'll still do what we know is such a superficial thing. Man, it's not like we don't know. We know, and still. And he was a bhakta, and he was a king. Still, sometimes you wonder where our intelligence goes on vacation without us knowing, and then it's just gone and we can't use it because it's just not there. So, he's born again as an elephant because the rishi cursed him that, this much pride, this much self-involvement. And he's born as a, what's the head of the elephants, the male? The male, like they have a name. No. Anyway, he's the leader. And even in this birth, because he was a bhakta, the forest he lived in had so much fruits. And so he always had the best choice of fruits. And the grass was lush and the scenery was beautiful. And there was a cool lake. So still, even in this birth as an elephant, he still has so much pleasures because of all the punya he had done as a bhakta. And then he goes into the lake one day to cool himself down. And then there was a crocodile who was also cursed by a rishi for literally pulling the rishi's leg. The rishi was in the lake and he held on to the rishi's leg, and so then the rishi said, well, if you're going to behave like this, then stay in the lake and be a crocodile. And so you'll notice that what are these curses? If your mind is behaving in a particular way, let your body take the form of how your mind is behaving. Please note the curses are all that. And basically what the curses are is telling us that whether some rishi comes and curses you or not, if you have these kind of thoughts, your mind will take that shape. Just the stories are dramatic because there's cursing. And then some people will say, there's so much cursing, but you must remember that one whole manvantra is something like 1 billion some odd years, and then there would have been like 20 curses. So 20 curses over 1 billion years is really not a lot. And then you're thinking how everybody else is getting boons left, right and center, and how come I'm not getting a boon? Please remember, it's like, 20 boons over something like 20 billion years. It's just that it's condensed in 1 7-week saptah, and so you are hearing them one after the other, and don't think you can also just close eyes and suddenly get boon. Maybe you can. Why should I? Doubt. Because Bhagavan has said we turn to him, we will be able to get. So, you can definitely try. But Bhagavatam saying don't ask. So I suggest you don't ask when the boon comes, unless you ask what Prahlad asked, which is, what did Prahlad ask? May I not have any desires. Okay, so a crocodile caught elephant's leg, and in the flash he remembered Om Namo Narayana from all the puja he has done in his previous life. And the most amazing part of this story is that Bhagavan was just waiting for him to call him, and he heard, so Gajendra said, Govinda. He heard Go while he was in Vaikunt, and by the time he heard Vinda, he was already here on earth. That's how eager Bhagavan is to come and help us. And we thinking, you sure? He's already here telling us all these beautiful things. It's just that we don't want to do all these beautiful things. We just want what we want, and desire gets so stuck in our head. It is also said that when Bhagavan swung his legs off, because he's sleeping on Sheshnag, to come to receive or to help Gajendra, that he swung with such force that his chappals broke. So he left without them. And these small details are given in these stories just to emphasize his love for us. And so Bhagavan comes and he thinks, I have to help my devotee, but this person, the creature, this crocodile, has held my devotee's legs, so it's a devotee of a devotee. So first I should help him. And sends the Sudarshan Chakra. And so usually the story is like, he killed the crocodile to free Gajendra. No. He's freeing the crocodile from his curse first, because then only Gajendra can be free, but also because he's holding devotees' feet. And then Gajendra has to finish his life and gets born again. in this next life to be able to continue his devotion to Bhagwan. Downfalls always, I-ness and minus. Lifting is always replacing it with bhakti. So as that elephant walking around, I am leader, king, powerful, and then fall or caught and freed only when mind gets lifted back to bhakti. And so this 8th canto was called Avatar, or focuses on Avatar, because we see maximum number of Avatar stories come in this canto. And the idea here is when we invoke, the bhav with which we invoke is how Bhagwan comes to us. And it came earlier in the canto, but I didn't want to do it injustice yesterday, so kept it for today, is the story of Vamana Avatar and King Bali. So if you remember, Prahlad became king, and his son, Virochana, continued the lineage, and then his son is Bali. And so still fairly recent. Grandson will still know Prahlad fairly well. And so the samskars from Prahlad have very much still been kept alive by the asuras. There's stories of how Virochan practiced it as well, but Virochana is also known to a little bit get distracted by ego and become a bit self-centered. And so he makes a few mistakes. And when Prahlad has to pass judgment, even though Virochana is his son, he doesn't pass judgment in favor of his son. And so that's one of the things that Prahlad is best known for as a king, that he remains impartial. And if that means that to follow the law, his own son has to be punished, his son has to be punished. And then Virochan took a little bit longer to learn it, but he learned it after making a few mistakes. And King Bali, and they say this, I don't know if it's truth scientifically, but they say that the grandson will usually be like the grandfather more than the father. So King Bali is very much like Prahlad. If you hear this, when we hear the story, you will be able to see it. So he had become very, very powerful, and that's why they had to do the milking of the churning of the Milky Ocean. Because Bali had become very powerful. During this whole battle, after the churning of the Milky Ocean, Indra actually kills Bali. And then when they reach their truce, then the Asuras take his body and bring him back to Shukdev Maharaj, and they use the Amrit. And even during the battle, when they were being killed, they all go back and they use the Amrit, because Amrit is supposed to revive you, and it wasn't working. Because they stole it. So now the Amrit won't work. And it's a recurring theme, which maybe if we can so easily not see it, we can so easily get lost in the stories. But abuse Mother Earth and the nutrients are there, but it doesn't nourish us. Abuse Mother Lakshmi and she's there, but it doesn't bless us. And then even here, they got the Amrit, so it's physically there, but it doesn't bless us. Because Dharma is not being adhered to, and Bhakti is not there in our heart. And if Bhakti is there in our heart, even if the physical Amrit is not there, it will bless us. Even if physical wealth is not there, it will bless us. And with the rishis living in the Himalayas, they don't even eat food and they get nourished. They just think apple and they get all the vitamins of an apple. And that works because their minds are so pure. Without having the physical thing, they can get all the nourishment of it. And if we can have the physical thing but not have that purity in our hearts and then not be blessed by it. So then they had to use Sanjeevani to be able to bring Bali back, which they found, and they bring him back. Shukracharya is able to bring him back, also with Bhagwan's grace, because the battle was just so unnecessary. So now Bali is back, and he is very, very powerful. And so easy for him to take over Indra because he lives with such purity and dharma. And then earlier we saw that Diti got really sad when her sons were being killed. Now Aditi gets really sad that Indra keeps losing his kingdom to an asura. And so who they'll go to? Bicharo Kashyap Rishi. Because they both, his wives and all these kids belong to Kashyap Rishi. And he just sighs. And he says, if you do this vrata, then Bhagwan will come and you ask whatever boon you want to ask. And she very diligently does the vrata. And Bhagwan comes. And she asks that she wants Indra to be king of heaven once again, and Virochana should be, what's the word she uses? She doesn't use killed. Sent away, so he doesn't keep winning back the kingdom from Indra. And Bhagwan takes a while to answer her boon, because even though these boons are given, karma has to still work. Even though in Bhakti Shastra they'll say Bhagwan overrides karma. In Vedanta, no, karma cannot be overrid. Of course it can be, but he doesn't do it often. In Bhakti Shastra they think he does it all the time. And he can, no doubt, all powerful, so of course he can. And then he says, so be it. He gives this boon. And Virochana is doing a havan, yagna, his daily puja. And when you do puja, you're supposed to give in charity to whoever comes when your puja is being done. And so he comes as this little vattu, a small boy, supposedly studying in a gurukul, hair is shaved with a little choti. And he stands outside where the yagna is being conducted until Bali calls him in. And then he comes and sits. And the minute Bali sees him, remember yesterday I said when Bhagwan takes avatar, extremely attractive. And so immediately everyone's attention is on this little boy, because the joy and the love radiating out of that being will pull our attention to him. So he waits till the yagna is over and says at the end that you've come, so you must want something. So ask me whatever you want. And he starts praising Bali. You are the son of such a great bhakta, Prahlad, and you belong to this heritage where your lineage is noble and full of devotion and hearts are so giving. And so Shukracharya says, this is too much praise. What's he, if he's a small little boy, if you give me candy, you don't need to praise this much. And so Shukracharya tunes in and says, okay, this is Bhagwan Vishnu, he's come here to take everything from you, don't give it to him. Bali hears his guru. Bali looks at this little boy and in his heart he thinks, and out aloud he says, being the son of Virochan and the grandson of Prahlad, how can I not give? In his heart he thinks, if Bhagwan's really come, even more reason to give. Yeah. Now Shukracharya is guru and saying, don't give. Yeah. And he's not listening. And yesterday I said, if you don't listen, all your power goes. But I also said, earlier it was taught by Kim Prithu, if you remember, a mother's only a good mother if she teaches you. Forgot already. To have devotion. Father's only a good father if he teaches. To have devotion. Guru is only a good guru if guru teaches. To have devotion. Shukracharya didn't teach devotion. He taught Artha Nidhi, means make lots of money, collect lots of power. And so he's saying, don't give Bhagwan what Bhagwan is asking for. This is the only time allowed not to listen. Because role of Guru is to take you to Bhagwan. And listening is to help us get closer to Bhagwan. So, Bali says, I've already said, ask me whatever you want, and so now I have to stick to it. Ask me whatever you want. And the Vatu says, I want 3 steps of land. And Bali laughs. You so small, your 3 steps, you please ask for more. He actually says that. Please ask for more. What your 3 steps of land? What you'll even build in 3 steps of land? And the Vatu says, no, 3 is enough. I don't need any more. And so, Vedic ritual, you don't shake hands after when a deal is made. In a Vedic ritual, to make sure that the deal is, you pour water in your hand and you let it fall onto the ground. So with kusha grass on his hand, both of them dropped water on the ground. So now, deal is made. Bali owes this Vatu 3 steps of land. And the minute this happens, this little Vatu starts growing. I've seen TV series of this, huh? Y'all have seen these TV series? Ta-dum, 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 ta-dum. And so for the first foot, he covers the whole earth. And then with the second foot, he covers all of heaven and hell, all the other worlds, the entire universe. And then in these TV series, you have this humongous Vatu looking down at like an ant like Bali. Like, how will he even be able to see which one's Bali if he's that big? Logistics of all of this is very wrong. But you must remember, Bhagwan is infinite and doesn't need eyes to see also. And these 2 feet of land that he has covered is, when we do karma, then we have a result that we can see and a result that we can't see. Yeah. So immediately when I exercise, right, then result that I can see, endorphins, and I feel better and I have more energy and stronger, or whatever it is that I am doing with my exercise. And then a result that you can't see, which is what? The vasana of discipline, which you cannot see, which contributes to whether I go to heaven or hell. Even when I do a negative action, right? I steal your cupcake. No, not cupcake, butter. Because today is going to be lots of butter. Then if you catch me, then physical consequence and you scolding and the embarrassment or the being shunned, all of that. But the invisible consequence of that, which is my own vasanas and what I have to face after death. So some things I face here and some things I face after death. So the first foot, he covered all the physical world. So he took everything that was physical. The second foot, he covers everything that is invisible, that cannot be seen. In the story, usually he covered the whole universe, and so now where else will he put his foot? But it's very necessary to understand that it's got specifically to do with Bali. It's not that he just covered the whole universe. He covered everything that was Bali's, which could not be physically seen. Because he's taking from Bali. He doesn't need to take over the whole universe. The whole universe is already his. Yeah. And then lots of side effects of this story happen. Because he has become so big and his foot is now in the heavens, all the devatas run to get water and to do abhishek of his feet, because they never get to do abhishek of his feet, but now suddenly the feet is everywhere, so you can do abhishek of the feet. And the water that is collected from doing abhishek of his foot, actually only one, becomes the Mandakini river of the heavens, which falls to earth to become Ganga Maya. And that's one of the reasons Ganga Maya is so sacred, because she is collected from the water of the Abhishek from doing Bhagwan's. And then, while his foot is so big, Jambavan, who we know from the Ramayana, who is actually Brahmaji, is waiting to do his austerities. And so he goes around the foot 3 times as pradakshina, which we meant to do in our puja. And because the foot is the whole universe, he goes around the whole universe 3 times. And then Jambavan tells that story in the Ramayana. Then he looks down and he says, now where will I put my third foot? Step, not foot. Where will I put my third step? And Bali replies, put your foot on my head, for all my possessions have been given to you, but the one who gave is not yet given. So please accept the giver, because the arrogance of becoming the giver brings much suffering. Why he gives his head? He gave all the karmas. First foot, Bhagwan took all his karmas. Second foot, all the vasanas cannot be seen. And third foot, doership is I-ness. I-ness and minus bring all sorrow. I-ness. Bhagwan, take my I-ness. And he took all the karmas. And everything we possess or enjoy is because of karma. So all minus is already gone. And so he says, Bhagwan actually says, I have taken your dharma, your karma, your sukha, your dukkha, your deha, your body, and your ahankar. And then Bhagwan says, you are now mine. No one else had got that, huh? My bhakta. Prahlad got my bhakta. Shabri got mine. Mine. Everything that is yours is now mine, because Bali offered. And then Bhagwan asked Garuda to tie him up, because now he's mine. And this can be seen as, why so insulting? Because remember, he's taken every last trace of ahankar. And when he does that, Prahlad comes from the heaven. And Prahlad bows down to Bhagwan and says, first you gave him everything, and then you took back what is yours only. It was correct. Only you can bless him with the highest. And he can only get the highest when you take away everything else. And then his wife comes and says, your grace alone is what we want. You've taken him, take me also. Not why you tied him up, he's already your bhakta. Like this, Bhagwan will show how surrender is complete. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you do. But of course it wasn't. Bhagwan has only love in his heart for Bali, and so he banishes Bali to this, what's it called? It's its own heaven. It's under the earth, but it's a heaven. And he says, Prahlad will go with Bali to live in this kingdom, and I will go and live with him there for all of time. And then Bhagwan says, when we poured the water, everything of Bali's became mine. And everything of mine became his. When we surrender, we lose everything. But we also gain everything. When we hold on to I-ness and everything is mine, we're going to lose it anyways. But when we let go of I-ness and mineness and we get him, everything is his. And so, Bali got everything. He got his own heaven with Bhagwan as his watchman. Bhagwan was inside also, because Bhagwan is not limited. So Bhagwan used to be inside with him doing satsang and standing as the watchman outside in this form of Vattu. And there's only one person who dared to go, of course, Ravana. Who else would dare to go? And Bhagwan says, no, you're not allowed in. And Ravana, of course, is very, very insistent. So he uses just his toe. He doesn't even kick with his own leg. Only with his toe. And Ravana goes flying right back to Lanka and never ever tries to go back to the realm where Bali is. So, when we give in puja, we offer everything that is fragrant. We offer flowers, we offer agarbatti, we offer camphor, we offer chandan. Everything we offer in puja is fragrant. And it's to remind us that we offer the physical and we offer the non-physical. Because until we give both, we haven't surrendered. I didn't do the J card for Vamana Avatar. It's okay. So the 8th canto ends and the 9th canto starts. And then now we switch languages. Remember, there's different Manus, and there's different cycles. And in the 9th canto, it's about all great leaders and all great kings. And so the 8th canto were about bhaktas in heaven, like Bali is in heaven, Indra is in heaven, Matsyavatar, well, he was here. Who else came? Yeah, churning of the Milky Ocean. All of that happened in heaven. Whereas the lineage given here in Canto 6 is very much all the kings who are great bhaktas who live here on earth. Starting with King Shrayati, who was, the stories I will do quickly, even though they are beautiful and they are written quite elaborately in the Bhagavatam. The Ashwina Kumars were thrown out of getting any prasad from the Havan Kunds. Who are the Ashwina Kumars? They do many things, but in terms of what we will relate to, that they are in charge of our nose. And why were they thrown out? Because they were also linked in with medicine, and then they had started eating meat. And so then if they couldn't be brought into Havan, because then that removes the purity of it. And so they were taken out. But this king, with his guru, there was a rishi called Charvana. They were determined to change everything. Why? Because if the Ashwina Kumars got a bit of the sacrifice, the healing potency of doctors would increase. And that was their motive. And so to be able to fight with the Devatas to change Devata law is huge. But this king and this rishi had minds that were powerful enough to do this. And the story is very, very elaborate, but we don't need to go into it. And then from him came King Nagbab. And again, the story is very elaborate about, typical story, there's lots of brothers, and then the father passes away and the wealth gets divided, and then one person got cheated out of a lot of things. And then this poor person that got cheated out of it wanted to find a way to be able to get it, and somebody advised him to take the leftovers from when a havan is finished. Because actually a lot of wealth of ghee and herbs and all of that get used. And he went, and then when he was taking the things, Rudra appeared and said, but this is mine. Because whatever is left from a havan belongs to Rudra as per the laws of havan. And he didn't know this, and so he immediately apologizes and asks for forgiveness. And so Rudra gives him not only what's from that havan, but from every havan. And so he becomes far greater than all his brothers. And here too, that ability to be incredibly humble. And so each of these stories, you'll see this one quality that makes this king shine in the lineage. So in the first one, it was the bravery to dare the gods, devatas, not gods. And here, this incredible humility and one wins over Rudra's favor. And then in the same lineage is King Sagar, who then had Anshuman, and in between a few others, who brings down Mother Ganga. And I mean, that story is already very, very beautiful and very, very elaborate, because the tapas goes on for 3 generations. One generation starts the tapas and Bhagwan didn't answer, so next generation has to do the tapas, and then they didn't answer. Then 3rd generation, Shivji said, okay. And then he had to do tapas to be able to get the river to come down. And the dedication that a son would continue to do the tapas for the father, in that loyalty, that ancestors that I don't even know are suffering, but I will do what I can to relieve their suffering. And actually we think ancestors who we don't even know and I'll relieve their suffering, and we think it's got nothing to do with us. But actually, we inherit the karmas of our ancestors. And more in the Mahabharata than here in the Bhagavatam, they will show you that mistakes made are repeated in lineages. So someone disease is an easy way to see it. And then it's in your genetic pool that you are predisposed to this disease. This one we can all understand because it's physical. But it's also in your genetic pool that you are predisposed to jealousy. Or it's in your genetic pool that you are predisposed to be short-tempered. And then you were born in that pool. And you chose your lineage. Right? So there's no unfair here. Yeah. We only choose which lineage we're going to be born into, and probably to get some of the benefits and probably to have some of the negatives. But when we do tapas to clean ourselves from that particular tendency, so let's say in my lineage predisposed to jealousy, and then I do immense tapas to be able to purify myself from this jealousy, then I free all the ancestors and all the generations to come. And so here in the story of King Sagar and all his sons that are continuing to do the tapas for him, it just sounds like it's loyalty to do for the ancestors, but actually it can only change if one person in the lineage puts in this effort to make it change. And so many times we won't know what it is that our lineage is predisposed to. Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes you can see very clearly, grandfather did this and father did this, and sometimes we can see it very, very clearly. And sometimes we can't see it. But whatever we do work on ourselves has ripple effects on those that have come before us and those who come after us. And then in this lineage, there is also Raja Amrish, Raja Yayavati, and Raja Rantidev. Amrish Maharaj, I will speak about a bit later, and Yayavati will definitely come up in another example, so I leave it for later. But Raja Rantidev is probably the only person who have asked for such a boon, except for Mother Kunti. I've already mentioned that Mother Kunti asked, may I have sorrow, so that I remember you. But Raja Rantidev did even better than that. He had been hungry for almost 2 weeks, and then he got some food. And so he cooked it. It wasn't a lot, it was a little bit. And just as the food got ready, there was a knock on his door, and it was a beggar saying, I'm really hungry. And so he gives half. And then he's about to sit down and eat. There's a knock on the door. And it's a chandalya or a butcher, I can't remember which one comes first, and says, can you please spare me some food? So he gives half. Just as he is about to sit down, knock on the door. It's a chandalya with all his dogs, and he says, I'm really hungry and my dogs are thirsty. So he gives his food to the chandalya, and the only water he led to the dogs. And so now he has nothing. So he was hungry for 2 weeks. He got food, he gave all of it away. And then he sits down and he meditates. While he's hungry, he meditates, and he's not meditating on food. And he says, Bhagwan, if you are pleased with me, please give me a wish. And so Bhagwan appears and says, yes, what boon would you like? Like, so easy. Remember, once in a billion years. And also listen to what boon he asked for. That's why Bhagwan came so quickly. He said, let me live in everybody's hearts. So Bhagavan said, I'm already in everybody's hearts. You don't need to be in everybody's hearts. What you'll do there? And he said, you are there in everybody's hearts, just watching. Yeah, which is true. Bhagavan stays as a sakshi in our heart. He doesn't interfere in our karma. He has given us free will, so you do. Whatever you do, he watches. Yeah. All the papa you do, he is watching. All the punya you do, he is watching. But he doesn't interfere. He is just watching. Yeah. Because he has to keep us alive, he has to stay in our hearts. He's not even watching to see what you're doing. Not like that. Just, keeping you alive, so can't help but notice what you're doing, kind of thing. So he said, you be in their heart and you stay impartial the way you are. Let me be in their hearts, and when sorrow comes, give it to me. And when happiness comes, give it to them. Because there's so much sorrow in this world, Bhagavan. If you want to ask for a boon like this, he'll come like this. When not only Vishnu, Brahma, Vishnu, Shivji, all manifest in front of him and say, for someone like you, yeah, even a boon's not enough. And they say, there's no need for you to take everyone's sorrow. Already they're not learning their lessons. He gets darshan from all of them and moksha. And remember I said there's different types of moksha, and whatever moksha they wanted, they got. And remember I also said going to heaven for some people was moksha. But we already know what happens in heaven. So when it's time for you to choose which moksha you want, you choose wisely. And then in this wonderful, beautiful lineage of all these great kings, there is a king called Raghu. And then he has a son called Aja. And then he has a son called Dasharath. And Dasharath Maharaj desperately wants a son. And by now you know this is not uncommon. And so his guru, sage Vashishta, helps him to do a yagna. And from the yagna comes the payasam, which we saw that even King Chitrakoot's wife had drunk. But little bit better outcome, only little bit better outcome. And from this, Mother Kaushalya gives birth to Sri Ramachandra Ji. Bolye Siyavar Ramachandra ki. Ram 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 Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. And this little Ramchandra Ji was the apple of Dasharath Maharaj's eye. Loyal to him was Lakshman, more than a shadow, because whatever Ramchandra Ji excelled in, Lakshman also excelled in. And with Ram and Lakshman was Bharat and Shatrughan. As amazing Ramchandra Ji is, that amazing Bharat is. In skill, in intelligence, in compassion. And it is believed that all four of them together actually create this avatar, because from each one of them we see nobility manifest in 100%. In Bharat, the surrender that we see in Bharat, Like there's just no brother like Bharat in just all of time, where he didn't want to take anything from Ramchandraji and only just keep giving to Ramchandraji, and not even praise should go to him, and even praise should go to Ramchandraji. And his love for Ramchandraji was so immense that he even looked more like Ramchandraji as every day went by. And so Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan go off to Gurukul, come back from Gurukul, and when they're already trained in warfare, then sage Vishwamitra appears to ask for a favor that Ram and Lakshman come with him into the forest to kill all the asuras. But Dasharatha Maharaj is so attached and he doesn't want to let them go until sage Vishwamitra says, no, 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 you have to let them go. Otherwise, how will Ram meet Sita ji and how will he get married? And so then finally Dasharatha Maharaj says, yes, okay, he can go. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. As they go into the forest, sage Vishwamitra teaches them incredible mantras that can summon the divine weapons, but more importantly, he teaches them how not to feel hunger and thirst, which I really want that mantra for. And we just can't able to have its same power anymore because we need Vishwamitra to initiate you into it. They then meet Tadaka, who is vanquished, Subahu too, who is vanquished, and Marich had a plot to play in a later scheme, and so he was not vanquished, and he was thrown to Bombay, where he shivered with fright every time he heard Ra or Ma, and in this way meditated on Ram day and night. And when Vishwamitra re-established Dharma in the forest and Havans once again were able to be done without disturbance, he took Ramchandraji to Mithila, where the beautiful Sita, who was Mother Earth itself, was waiting to bless all of us. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. There wasn't just one wedding, there was 4 weddings. Sita had a sister Urvashi who was married to Lakshman, and then cousins. Shwetakirti was married to Shatrughan, and Madhavi was married to Bharat. And so Ayodhya rejoiced and Mithila rejoiced, and everyone was extremely happy celebrating all of these festivities. After Ramchandraji, of course, broke Shiva's bow to be able to win Sita ji's hand in marriage. And when everyone was celebrating to continue all the celebrations, Dasharatha Maharaj said, it is time to hand over the kingdom to Ramchandraji. And so the celebrations continued, except that Mantra didn't quite like this idea. And so she was able to poison Queen Keike's mind to be able to tell Dashrath to enforce the 2 boons that she had and exiled Ramchandraji to the forest. But Sita devotedly followed after, and Lakshman enthusiastically wanted to always be with Ramchandraji and had the greatest opportunity of all times to be able to serve Bhagwan 24/7 because he vowed not to sleep the entire time they were in the forest. And so off they went to the forest with all of Ayodhya following them, singing. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram. Ram Bharat didn't know that his brother was exiled, and when he finds out, he is devastated. He once again collects all the Ayodhyavasis and takes them to Chitrakoot to beg Ramchandraji to return. But a promise made is a promise that has to be kept. And so Bharat returns with Ramchandraji's padukas to rule in Ramchandraji's name for 14 years, while Ramchandraji, Sitaji and Lakshman continue on into the forest because demons had to be killed and Santa had to be blessed. And so in this way, they keep going, visiting so many ashrams, doing so much satsang. They meet Jatayu, who is a friend of Dashrath Maharaj, and settle down and build this beautiful cottage, living with the animals and nature and the Santa Mahatma for 13 years. They lived so happily and so peacefully. So before disaster strikes, we'll sing his name.
Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram.
But Shurpanakha had seen Ramchandraji and got very besotted. And then in her attempt to gain Ramchandraji's favor, she attacked Sita Ma, and so Lakshman cut off her nose and her ears, and she went running to Ravana to demand justice and asked that Sita Ji, being the most beautiful in this whole world, was more deserving to have Ravana than Ramchandraji. And once the thought was in Ravana's mind, it wouldn't leave. And so Ravana found Marich, convinced him to be a golden deer, to distract Sita Ji's attention and steal Ramchandraji far away from her. Lakshman couldn't handle harsh words that he didn't deserve, and he too left. And Ravana then was able to drag Sita away to Lanka. Even wedded to bliss itself, we forget. We cannot blame Sita Ji. We all do it. We forget that we have already Bhagwan. All of us already have Bhagwan. But send him off to run errands for us. Please get me this and please get me that. We know better than Sita Ji. The greatest treasure we have, we send it away and then fall into the clutches of our own I-ness and minus, and then hundreds of desires that stem from this I-ness and minus. And then we cry. Sita Ji cried, sitting under the Ashoka tree in the Ashoka garden. Ashoka means where there's no sorrow. She is crying. Because all of us too. Where are we? In Bhagwan's lap. At Bhagwan's feet. And in Bhagwan there is no sorrow. But we are crying. Ramchandraji feels her pain and goes in search of her, crying with her. Because when we cry, Bhagwan cries with us. He feels our pain. He's sitting impartially in our hearts, but he feels our pain. And he's waiting. More than we are waiting, he is waiting for us to turn back to him. And so hearing her cries, Bhagwan sets off to find her. Rama Rama Jaya Raja
Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram.
A little Vatu appears in front of Ramchandraji asking, "Who are you?" A question all of us should be asking. Who is he? What's his nature? Where is he? What is he doing? If these are the questions that fill our heart, then we will seek the answers, and it will lead us to satsang, and it will lead us to him. And this little Vatu wasn't little at all, and wasn't a Vatu at all. In fact, he was the mighty, brave, courageous Hanuman, who had once again met his Lord and Master. And the moment that realization comes in his mind, the question, "Who are you?" disappears, and tears roll down his cheek, thinking, "How could I have forgotten you, Bhagwan? How can I forget you when you are everything? When you are the most important, why for even 1 second do I forget you?" But Hanumanji's glories that he didn't forget for too long. For the moment he saw Ramchandraji, he figures it out soon enough, and he bows down. Pavana Sutta Hanuman ki jai. And from that moment onwards, he becomes Ramadut. From that moment onwards. And the moment we also recognize that, Bhagwan, you are everything, and how could I have forgotten you? It's the greatest foolishness of all time. We can also become Ramadut and live our lives as Hanumanji did. And so Hanumanji takes him to King Sugriv, and they unwrap the bundle of jewelry that proves that it was Sita ji, and she had gone south. So monkey armies spread over north, east, west, south of India in search of Sita Ma, but the army going south was led by Angad and Hanuman. Rama Rama
Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram.
Hanumanji finds Sita ji under that Ashoka tree crying, saying Ram with her every breath. And even though she was starving and so sorrowful, her eyes still shone because there was bhakti in her heart. Recognizing that she alone can be Sita Maya, he delivers the message and the ring. And then thinks, why should I deliver only one message? Causes havoc in the garden, is caught and brought in front of Ravana, and then continues to insult him left, right, and center in the most humorous way possible. And frustrates and infuriates Ravana to such an extent that Ravana says, kill him. But Vibhishan saves not only the day, but Hanumanji, and says a messenger cannot be killed. And so Ravana thinks it's a loophole and says, burn his tail, because actually it would have killed him. But he doesn't know Hanumanji's glory. And so the tail is burnt, and so is Lanka. Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram,
Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Ramchandraji's message delivered, Sita Ji's message delivered to Ramchandraji in return. All the monkeys gather and go to the shores of India, and a bridge has to be built. This feat of them building a bridge in less than a week is phenomenal. To have rocks floating in the ocean just because they bear the name of Ram shows the potency of Ramchandraji's name. Nothing will sink if it has Ramchandraji's name. We won't sink if we have Ramchandraji's name. Every monkey wanting to contribute because it was Ramchandraji's work. And Ramchandraji didn't build only this bridge. The Vanaras didn't build only this bridge. Ramchandraji also built this bridge between the Asuras and all of Bharat. Because their lineage would get purified by Vibhishan being the king, and they could once again join in with the glory of Bharat. Yeah. He builds the bridge for all of us to walk from possible to impossible. Because when I say you too can love unconditionally, you think, nah. When I say you can give up your attachments, when I say you can devote every single action you do to Bhagwan, in our thinking, the bridge from impossible to possible. It's the bridge from unreal. In Lanka, the Asuras used Maya Shastra, which means they created illusions. And then we didn't know what was real. Every time they did that, Ramchandraji destroyed the illusion so real could be seen. We've been seeing our bodies belong to earth. Our bodies belong to earth, and our bodies belong to karma. Because we only have this body because of karmas. Body doesn't belong to me. It belongs to karmas, it belongs to earth, and it belongs to him. Thinking it's me is unreal. Knowing it's his is real. Ramchandraji built the bridge from unreal to real. The Vanara Sena is all our noble qualities. It's our patience, our forgiveness, our kindness, our discipline, our cheerfulness, our seva bhav, our surrender, our commitment, our perseverance, and our loyalty. The Vanara Sena is our virtues. Ramchandraji builds this bridge with the Vanara Sena from impossible to possible, from unreal to real, from sorrow, because Sitaji is crying, to unity back with him. Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram,
Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram.
After crossing the bridge, after giving many chances to Ravana to be able to return Sita Ma and avoid the battle, battle is declared. Vibhishan helps Ramchandraji know what strategies to use, and they are winning. Indra's sons are defeated one by one until he is so restless and disturbed, he wakes up his brother Kumbhakarna, who eats an incredible amount of food and sleeps for an incredible amount of time and would be so many people's role models. But Kumbhakarna, who does spend his time eating and drinking, his role model is Vibhishan. When Kumbhakarna learns from Ravana what Ravana has done, his reply is, Ravana, you fool. Why did you take Sitaji in the first place? And then having taken her, why didn't you give her back? And Ravana didn't actually say this, but probably to the extent, well, you were sleeping, so now it's done. He didn't say that. That's my masala. And when Vibhishan meets Kumbhakarna in the battlefield, rather, Kumbhakarna meets Vibhishan in the battlefield, he stops the battlefield and tells Vibhishan, at least one of us have lived well. Vibhishan, you the wisest of the three of us. Seeing you serve Ram is my greatest joy. Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram,
Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram.
And even though he had devotion in his heart, he didn't live the actions showing that devotion. And anyways, he was Jay or Vijay, whichever one, and had to return to Vaikunth. And so Ramchandraji strung his bow and shot. And when Kumbhakarna fell, he took many monkeys down with him just by his sheer size. But they had Sanjeevani. So the monkeys came back up. The battle fought until no one was left except Ravana. And only then did he come onto the battlefield. He made everyone else die for his desire. Asura. When we inconvenience and trouble other people for our desires. Asura. Asuric is better grammar. When Ravana was fighting with Ramchandraji, Ramchandraji was so valiant that at one point Ravana got disorientated, his crown fell, he fell from the chariot. Ramchandraji stopped, waited for him to get back up, and then said, "You're tired today, go rest. We'll fight again tomorrow." Who's he saying this to? Compassion like this we see only in Bhagavan. Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram,
Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram, Rama Rama Jai Raja Ram, Rama Rama Jai Sita Ram.
Sita ji was eagerly waiting. When this battle is going to be over, why isn't Ramchandra ji just destroying Ravana yet? Oh, what's her name? Tarak? No. Trijita. Trying to console Ramchandra ji says, Sita ji. Same thing. Trying to console Sita ji says, because right now in Ravana's heart you are sitting there. So Ramchandra ji can't pierce that heart where you are sitting, Sita Maya. So until Ravana forgets you, he won't kill Ravana. That's such a nice sentiment. But Ravana couldn't be killed by an arrow through his heart. He could only be killed by an arrow in his navel. Then why was Ramchandra ji waiting? Karmas have to get finished. Time of death will only come when karmas are finished. And when karmas are finished, nothing can save you. Death will come. But until karmas are not finished, Ramchandra ji will do a dance. Jump this side, shoot arrow this side, hide this side, because karmas have to get finished. Ravana had to suffer enough. In this case, already all his punya was used up. And only papa was left, and until the karmas didn't get finished, he couldn't leave. And the moment his karma was finished, and it was time for Sita ji to be free, he took 10 arrows, 5 arrows, I I can't remember how many. No, 10. Because it cuts off all his head, 20. Cuts off his heads, his hands, and one pierces his navel. And Ramchandraji,
Ramchandra ki jai.
Ram Ram,
Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Vibhishan is made king, the soldiers are cremated, Sita ji is brought back, Ramchandra ji accepts her, and they go back to Ayodhya, where the citizens are waiting after 14 years. And to welcome them, they lit all the paths with diyas, dressed in new clothes, prepared lots of a feast for them to eat. Bharat, all of Ayodhya was waiting, but Bharat, it was like Bharat hadn't breathed for 14 years. And waiting for Ram to come so that he could just breathe. It like was Bharat had experienced only night for 14 years and was waiting for Ramchandraji to come back for the sun to rise again. And Bharat's dream comes true. 14 years end. Hanuman Rai arrives before Ramchandraji does to make sure everyone's prepared. And so they have their arti thalis in their hands and their garlands ready and flower petals to put at Ramchandraji's feet. And once again, Ayodhya celebrates. Ramchandraji came home. Ram Ram
Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jai Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Ram Rajya is where there was no sorrow, where dharma was held the highest. Ram Rajya started the minute Bharat took over. Continued for hundreds and thousands of years. Ramchandraji has been faulted for many things unjustly. Once somebody asked Mahatma Gandhi, isn't it unfair that Sita ji was sent away? And he answered, that we should ask Sita ji. And if we do ask Sita ji, her reply will be, as Ram wishes, so I wish. And whether I'm with him or away from him, my love is no less. Whether he keeps me with him or sends me away, my love is no less. The Ramayana is Sita Ji's glory, not her suffering, her glory. She's telling us, whatever His will, make it your will. And the only thing to do, Ram Ram Jaya Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Sita Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Raja Ram, Ram Ram Jaya Sita Ram. Siyavara Ramachandra ki jai, Pavan Sata Hanuman ki jai, Bolo Bhai Sada Santan ki jai. In the Bhagavatam, the Ramayana is just one chapter. It's very, very short because we have a full Ramayana. Okay? And because by the time Shukdev Maharaj got to Ramchandra Ji's story, King Parikshit got restless. Are you going to tell me about Krishna yet or not? So Shukdev Maharaj said, okay, I'll finish Ramayana quickly. And then I'll give you all break. And then we'll see. I'll have a 10-minute break. Please eat your meal.